You logged in last week, didn't you? Maybe you checked your balance. Maybe you even smiled a little, because the number was bigger than last time. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you thought, good, that's working. I don't need to worry about that. And I get it. That's exactly how super is designed to feel. Automatic, safe, invisible. But here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. The fact that it feels like it's working is exactly what makes this mistake so dangerous. Because right now, inside your super account, there's a number being subtracted every single year, quietly, without a notification, without a warning, and over the course of your working life, that number could add up to $87,000 or more, not from a market crash, not from a scam, not from a bad investment decision, from something so boring, so unremarkable, that almost no one ever catches it. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what it is and exactly what to do about it. Let's get into it. I want to introduce you to someone. Let's call him James. James is 32. He works a regular 9-to-5. Good salary. Stable job. He pays his taxes. He doesn't splurge on things he can't afford. And every fortnight, like clockwork, super gets taken out of his pay and deposited into his account. He's not reckless. He's not financially illiterate. In fact, by most measures, James is doing everything he's been told to do. Show up to work. Let your super build. Trust the system. And every year, when he does check, the balance is up, maybe a few thousand, maybe more. So in his mind, there's nothing to worry about. But here's what James doesn't see. He doesn't see the fees being deducted every single month. He doesn't see how those fees are compounding against him, not in his favor. He doesn't see the version of his future where those dollars stayed invested and kept growing. He just sees the balance going up, and he assumes that means everything's fine. But going up doesn't mean it's going up as much as it should. James is losing money he doesn't even know he has yet. And that distinction between what you have and what you could have is the entire point of this video. Let's talk about fees. And I know fees, not the most exciting topic, but stick with me. Because once you see how this actually works, you won't be able to unsee it. Inside almost every super account in Australia, you're paying fees. Multiple types, usually without realizing how much they add up to. There's the admin fee, a flat charge just for having the account. There are investment fees, a percentage charge on the money being managed. And then there are indirect costs, the ones buried in the fine print that most people never read. When you add it all up, it's typically somewhere between 1% and 2% of your balance, every single year. Now, I want you to feel something for a second. 1%. Does that sound like a lot to you? Probably not. Most people hear 1%, and their brain files it under basically nothing. But here's where the psychology of super works against us. Super isn't a savings account. It's a compounding machine. And when you understand compounding, really understand it, you realize that 1% isn't a small number. It's the number that determines your retirement. Here's the simplest way I can put it. Every dollar that leaves your account in fees today doesn't just cost you $1. It costs you every dollar that dollar would have become over the next 30 years. Think about that. A dollar taken from your super at age 32 doesn't cost you $1 at retirement. It could cost you $4 or $5 because of all the growth you missed out on. That's what makes fees so uniquely dangerous. They don't just take your money. They take the future money your money was going to make. Let's make this concrete. Two people, same age, same salary, same employer contributions. They work at the same company, earn the same amount, and they both do absolutely nothing to actively manage their super. The only difference between them, person A is paying 1.5% in annual fees. Person B is paying 0.5% in annual fees. That's 1 percentage point. 1. At 32, that gap feels meaningless. You'd barely notice it on a statement. But let's follow these two people to retirement. Over 35 years, assuming moderate returns and steady contributions. Person B retires with over $87,000 more than Person A. Same work, same contributions, same market performance, The only difference was a single percentage point in fees. They were paying without ever thinking about it. Now let's put $87,000 into real terms. That's 3 to 4 years of living expenses in early retirement. That's the difference between retiring at 62 and retiring at 65. That's the ability to say no to the job you hate, the client you resent, the situation you feel stuck in, or simply peace of mind that most Australians never get. And you'd lose it all, silently, gradually, without a single alert. So if this is such a big deal, why doesn't anyone talk about it? Why aren't Australians furious? Why aren't we demanding better? Because of how super is designed to feel. Think about it. When you check your super, you don't see a line that says, fees deducted this year, $2,400. You see a balance. You see a bigger number than last year, and your brain interprets that as success. The loss is invisible because it's buried beneath genuine growth. Your super is going up. You just can't see how much higher it could be going. And there's a second reason people don't act. Super feels like a future problem. Retirement is decades away, and our brains are genuinely terrible at feeling urgency about things that are 30 years out. So we log in, we see a growing number, we close the tab, and we don't come back until next year, when the fees have quietly taken another chunk. The system isn't broken. It's just not built to serve you. All right, so we've talked about fees, but there's a second layer to this that most Australians never even consider. When you joined your first job and got set up with super, did you choose your fund? Did you choose your investment option? Did you choose how aggressively or conservatively your money would be invested? Or did you just sign the form and move on? If you're like most people, you signed the form, and that means you're on default settings. Now, default isn't necessarily bad, but here's the thing about defaults. They are designed for the average person, not for you specifically, not for your age, your risk tolerance, your timeline, your goals. They are designed to keep you from complaining, not to maximize your outcomes. And no complaints is not the same as best possible result. Here's what default typically looks like. A balanced fund, moderate risk, moderate return, higher fees than low-cost alternatives, and an investment strategy that wasn't built with your retirement date in mind. If you're 32, like James, and you're on a default balanced option, there's a real chance you should be in a higher growth option instead. Why? Because you have time. 30-plus years for the market to grow. 30-plus years to ride out any dips. And a growth-oriented fund, combined with lower fees, could add an extraordinary amount to your final balance. But if you don't choose, someone else chooses for you, and their incentives are not necessarily aligned with yours. Okay, so we've identified the problem. Let's talk about what to actually do about it. And I want to be really clear here. This is not complicated. You do not need a financial advisor. You do not need to be good with money. You just need to do one thing, and it takes about 10 minutes. Step 1. Find out what you're currently paying in fees. Log into your super account, the Apple website, and look for the fees section. You're looking for the total fee percentage. It's usually called an MER, management expense ratio, or it might be listed as a total annual cost. Write that number down. Step 2. Compare. Go to the ATO YourSuper Comparison Tool. It's free, it's government-run, and it shows you exactly how your fund stacks up against others in terms of fees and performance. You're looking for funds with low fees and consistent long-term returns. A fee under 0.8% is generally considered competitive for most Australians. Step 3. Consider switching, but do your research first. Switching super funds is genuinely easy. You can do it through your MyGov account. But before you switch, just check a few things. Does your employer make contributions to a specific fund? If so, switching might affect how contributions arrive. Do you have insurance inside your current super? You don't want to accidentally lose valuable cover. And are there any exit fees from your current fund? Once you've ticked those boxes, if the numbers support it, switching to a lower fee fund could be one of the highest return things you ever do. 10 minutes of effort, tens of thousands of dollars of impact. That's the most powerful financial leverage available to the average Australian. And most people never use it. I want to say one more thing before we wrap up. The biggest mistake isn't paying high fees. The biggest mistake is knowing about this and doing nothing. Every year you stay in a high-fee fund is a year of compounding you lose. If you're 32 today and you fix this problem this year, you have 33 years for lower fees to compound in your favor. If you wait until you're 40, you have 25 years. That's not just 8 years of difference. That's potentially $20,000 to $30,000 of difference in your final balance, just from the delay. Compounding doesn't care about your intentions. It just responds to time and rate. So the best time to fix your super was 10 years ago. The second best time is today, not next month, not when you feel more ready. Today. Here's the bigger truth I want to leave you with. Most Australians are being told that wealth is about earning more. Get the promotion. Start the business. Pick the right stocks. But for most of us, the biggest financial wins aren't in earning more. They're in not losing what we already have. Super is the largest asset most Australians will ever own outside of their home. And for most people, it's just sitting there, being quietly eaten by fees they never thought to question. Wealth in Australia, real, lasting wealth, isn't just about what you earn. It's about what you don't lose. And now you know what to look for. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most Australians when it comes to understanding your super. Because most people will never do this. Not because they can't, but because the problem is invisible. And invisible problems don't get fixed. But now you see it. In the next video, I'll walk you through the exact step-by-step process of checking your fees, comparing funds, and switching, including which tools to use and what to look out for. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And if this video helped you see your super differently, share it with someone you know. Because $87,000 is a lot of money to lose in silence. I'll see you in the next one.